This is how it
the
is.
Poet Laureate of California.
It's all for you. And thank you. And here we have a team of poets. Katie, anything else you want to add?
No, just thank you so much for being here, and we are grateful to have you as our Poet Laureate, and you're a great leader.
And thank you so much. A big hand for Katie Porter, everything that Katie does for all of us. Did you tell everybody about the blogs and all that?
Well, we have Inlandia Literary Journeys blog, which this is being, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we use the megaphone.
So this is being recorded today by our cameraman, Angel, and this is going to go on the Inlandia Literary Journeys blog. If you don't already know about it, it's at localauthors.pe.com. We have all kinds of topics relating to the Inland Empire and writing and reading and people and togetherness. And we have videos, interviews with authors. So Juan, Felipe, thank you for being here today and for being a part of this.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Shall I talk about the poems for the Philippines?
Yes, let's talk about your projects.
Okay. And so let's give Katie Porter another big mono. As you know, Katie is doing a great, beautiful project. She got a lot of us together, a lot of our community writers together, to write a blog and contribute to the blog at the Press Enterprise. And you know, we really never have had a forum in the newspaper at large for a long time to write whatever we think is cool and things we want to express. So let's give Katie Porter another big hand, another big mono.
John Bender for spearheading this.
And John Bender spearheaded it. Big hand for John.
You know, at the newspaper, it's all about reading, and poetry is all about reading and connecting. And that's why I'm so happy to be part of this and to be here with the Inlandia Laureate, the Inlandia Director, and California's Poet Laureate.
Another hand for John. And Gayle, let's hear a few words from you, and then I'll do some more of this and talk about the Philippine project. Shall we?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we were each going to read a little more?
Yes, yes.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for all you're doing to bring poetry to the people.
Welcome.
I'm going to share a poem that I wrote several years ago after a hurricane that took place in Guatemala. And I thought that with Juan Felipe's project about the Philippines, it makes sense to share this poem today. Onions. Last Sunday, thousands of people looted 3 onion warehouses in northern India, grabbing pungent globes by the armful, trailing papery brown skins behind them like scraps of their own hands. Onions, potatoes, salt have been in short supply there, have been hoarded by sellers who jack up the prices, turning staples scarce and precious, turning people into wild, hungry tongues, rioting for their human right to taste. Yesterday, TV news coverage of Hurricane Mitch showed a man stumbling up a steep, eroded slope, tightly gripping a block of onions tied together like a bale of hay. The slender amethyst bulbs gleamed like Christmas tree ornaments among their long green sprouts. The man had carried the onions for over 40 miles so the survivors of his village could have something, anything to eat. The crunch, the burn of those onions must have brought them back into themselves a bit, must have reminded them that they were alive, although their eyes looked too stunned to be stung by the sharp fumes released between their teeth. I am whirling this week, you write. I am an onion this week. We all seem to go through layers of self-knowing. I soak your words in the way an onion soaks up oil, turning translucent and tender over the flame. How lucky I am to have you as a friend. How lucky we are, how goddamn privileged to be able to go buy onions so easily. There must be 15 stores within 5 miles of our safe homes where we can buy them, brown, white, red, sweet Vidalia, Hawaiian pearl, for just a few dimes a pound. How lucky, How almost embarrassingly fortunate we are to have the basic outer resources that give us the luxury to look inward, peeling away at our layers like so many glittering scarves, while only a few countries away people are packed under mud like root vegetables, while across the ocean people are crazed for simple sustenance, onions, potatoes, salt. The first poem I wrote in college was about onions, peeling onions. All I remember of it is this line repeated throughout the poem, "Where is the core?" In the poem, I kept peeling and peeling, never finding what lay at the center, although in my mind I pictured a small pearly bud there, like an iridescent jewel, or a sexual knob, or a heart. A few months later, I peeled a real onion, and I found there was no core, that the whole thing was built around a small chamber of air. It is this place I fall into when I hear about the people in India, in Nicaragua, this pit that aches like raw onion heartburn. I try to claw myself out by sending what I can to relief funds, by sending out my prayers, but I still feel surrounded by stinking white walls. Your words help guide me through the slippery layers back to the world where the real work has yet to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayle. That was incredible and timely, and I wish I had something quite as timely, but a while back there was a photo going around on the internet of this artist did a table and chairs that were larger than life size out in the middle of a field, just, you know, as tall as a building. And what was the most striking thing about this photograph was that it was raining and there was a field of horses. They had all taken shelter beneath this table. And so it's this very odd juxtaposition of what looks like something normal and ordinary and yet is so very strange, how it can be made strange just by the way we view these things and how we can, as people, affect change in the world by changing our perception just a little bit. And so this was something that I wrote in response to that image and in response to how that image made me feel. And it is called "Nothing is as it Seems." The field is steady, the grass a gold worth studying. Here the paddock is fenced, and beyond the field's shorn green expanse is bordered by a horizon of trees. Autumn thin, filigreed, so that the steeped sky yellows their greens, ambers their yellows. Where the trunks rise from earth, is that a footpath? Here, a table set with silver cloth draped across its square top. A bucket holds flowers, brightening. 2 chairs are askew. 2 have just risen from breakfast. The air is thick and sweet, the glittering richness of rain. And beneath the table, beneath the chairs, small horses take shelter. I cross the field. I clap my hands. I want to see them run.
Excellent, Katie. Thank you very much. Katie Porter, everybody. And now the best thing about Inlandia, what they're doing and what Juan Felipe is doing is opening minds with poetry. I'm going to read "Break the Skull." Poet, you have labored too long to feed Kitty's wife and skull. Break the skull. Take framing hammer. Take ball peen. Take sledge, claw. Noodle some noggins. Crack some craniums. Break the skull. Break the skull. Juan Felipe.
All right, everybody say break the skull.
Break the skull.
Raja la calabaza.
Raga la calabaza.
Break the skull.
Break the skull.
Raja la calabaza.
Raga la calabaza.
Break the skull.
Break the skull. Raga la calabaza.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Break the skull. Break the skull. That's good, isn't it? Isn't that cool? because we all got a skull, and we kind of want to protect our skull, but sometimes we have to kind of let go and see what happens, and see what's inside la calabaza, see what's inside the big squash, the big squash. You know, I grew up in the little fields of Central California, and my father and mother were farm workers, and I used to hang around by la calabaza. I used to hang around by la calabaza, by the squash garden, and I used to water the onions, and the rooster used to chase me, so I used to run from the rooster, and the rooster would jump on my back and peck my skull, because the rooster was the boss, and I didn't know that. And then I used to feed the pigs and climb up on the wooden little pig pen. My toes were sticking in, and I didn't know the pigs like toes, so they started nibbling on my toes, which was a lot of fun. And then I used to find little bugs that looked like human beings. And in Spanish we call them niños de la tierra, right? Little children of the earth. Like, oh, look at my father, niños de la tierra. It had a little head, you know, a little tierra, a little niño head, a little baby head, like a little Gerber head. And so it was very interesting being out there. But I also saw a lot of different kinds of realities. You know, I remember my neighbors, the children that I used to play with, and their family just got picked up by the immigration, by La Migra, and they got just put in a van and hauled away, and I never saw them again. And they owned that little piece of land, you know, they had a little thing going, and my father used to take care of that little plot of land that they had. That's what we did when we finally left the fields. We started helping out people who had a little bit of a field, a little ranchito. So that's kind of the combination, you know, the difficult realities of our community, with papers or without papers, with English or without English, just starting up or having started up already, living in trailers like I did. My father made a trailer out of, he made a one-room house on top of a car that he found. My father found a beat up old car, and all that was left was a chassis and the wheels. And then he said, "Hey, look at this. Look at this." And my mother's name was Lucha, short for loose, and short for wrestling, because lucha is wrestling. And my father said, "Mira, Lucha." My mother said, "What?" "Look." He said, "Mira, Lucha, look." And she goes, "What?" "There's nothing there, there's nothing there, just a beat up old car, Felipe." What do you mean a beat up old car, Lucha? Don't you know what I'm gonna do with it? She goes, "No, what are you gonna do with it?" He said, "I'm gonna build a house on top of that beat up old busted dilapidated car, Lucha." "Hey, really? And what are you gonna do with that?" "Well, that way we can travel, we can see, we can go up that mountain, Lucha. Up that mountain they got good water, Lucha. We'll drink good water up there." "Okay, Felipe, okay, that's what you gotta do. That's what we're gonna do." So he built a house on top of that busted up, old, dilapidated chassis of an old buried car. And we went up that mountain, and we got to Ramona, to the Indian reservation up there, and we had good water, some of the best water they have in the big blue sky.